Hi, 10 minutes of CS, CT side Dust 2. I'm going to go and cover as much as I can in 10 minutes. So there's two potential ways of setting up Dust 2 CT side. You could either send two players over to B, have one mid, and have two playing over on A. However, that's going to make it very difficult for you to take long control, and long control is really important, and I'll explain why in a minute. So in order to get that long control, I prefer to play one player over on B, one player mid, and then three players like that over on A. And why is that so important? Well, basically, if you're playing on A, you have to have either long control or short control. If you lose long control and short control, so you've lost both, then you're just going to get crunched. They'll molly off car, they'll molly onto site, they'll throw some flashes, and you'll be forced into a really uncomfortable position where they can get some easy picks because they've got so many angles on you. Short control, yes, it's very easy and very good to take at the beginning of the round, and you can come up and you can take some really nice aggressive angles onto lowers. However, you will start to get flashed off these, so you can get flashed and then forced back, and you come and hold another angle and you'll get molotoved off, and you'll come back and then you'll get flashed off that angle. Whatever happens, you will end up losing short control, probably without a pick if the other team know what they're doing. And so short control is impossible to hold on to as you go higher up the ranks. Long control, however, you can get, and that's why it's so important. You've got to assume you're going to lose short, which is why you need long. And the way you do that with three players is, you know, there are 5 spawns. The closest spawn is going to be the guy who wants to go into pit, and as you run down long, face backwards or face the wall to avoid the flashes that are going to be coming over. As you come out, you can do a strafing. Well, you can, if you have that first spawn, you can run around like that, which is absolutely fine. However, that little loop will make it slightly slower for you to get to pit. However, it's a really easy Molotov to throw. Or you can come and strafe out and literally just strafe out. And that works as well. If you get it damn right, you can get it really deep, but it will allow you to keep moving in the same direction. And you want to try and get a player to pit, a player to long corner, and then your third player is going to be playing back and throwing some utility to help you out. Once you've got a player into the pit, this player over here, he can throw a Molotov or something like that. Basically anywhere in that sort of circle will work, and that will Molotov behind blue. So with those two Molotovs off, Molotovs up, and some flashes coming in from your utility player, they're going to be really uncomfortable over on long. And the guy who's playing on the corner can throw some flashes like this. Basically, just lines himself up with this corner. It's pretty loose, and aims anywhere just above this sign. And the first one, if he throws it at 149, you'll catch the first guy who's coming out of Longhouse, and then just chain a couple of flashes, and it will help people to re-peek. What I would say is that if you haven't managed to get your Molotov deep into here, don't re-peek this corner, because what will happen is the terrorist will post up an AWP onto that corner, and as soon as you re-peek it, they'll just kill you. Wait till you've got some utility. You can even throw a bit of utility for yourself like that, and then re-peek with that. But yeah, these two players want to be playing off each other. If you're taking fights here, it's going to be more difficult to trade you. So once you've got your initial couple of kills, fall back, play an angle like this, stop anybody pushing your AWP. The AWP will be doing the same for you, or your rifler will be doing the same for you, and then you can hold along that way. Your utility player, once he's done that, he's got a couple of choices. If one of you gets killed, he can either come up and help, or depending on what's called from the mid player, if he's called a fast cat, he might find some use here. If the mid player said, no, there's nothing cat, then this player could start to play a little bit more aggressively up onto short and try and get a bit more information and map control. So that's how your 3 A players want to be playing. Once you've got that long control, then you can afford to start to rotate some players. The player pit maybe can smoke it off and push up to doors. He could play up a little bit closer behind blue. You could even boost him on top of blue, just in a position that's going to give him a little bit more of a position to dominate anybody who's coming out long, which will allow you to rotate these players off. And if you've got one of your players, let's say the AWP's come back and he's holding an angle like this, if that long player hears anything, he can always rotate back and help if he needs to. The mid player and the B player, right. So whenever you cross, you want to be throwing a smoke. Because if you don't have that smoke, the safest way to cross is up to truck and then across like that. If you don't have that smoke, you're going to get dinked. You're going to get tagged every time by the AWPer. It's a really easy shot. So you want to throw that smoke every time. The B player, he wants to be coming up and he wants to be throwing a Molotov every round. He probably wants to be sacrificing them 4 to get an SMG to get this Molotov at $600. It's expensive, but it's really important to have that Molotov. The smoke, you probably want one of your other players who isn't your B player throwing it, because he is going to need his smoke to hold on to site. And your role as a B anchor, you're playing on your own most of the time, is going to be to throw that Molotov and then pick anybody as they're coming out. If you start trying to peek angles like this, you're likely to get picked. So yeah, SMG is often quite a good gun, and then you can throw yourself matches like this, which you can fight with because they're landing behind cover for you, or like that, or you know, even something like this allow you to fight with these flashes. And you want to try and stay alive, derp around as much as possible to give your team time to rotate if they do hit B. Meanwhile, your mid player, if you're calling a B rush, he's going to be throwing some util to help you out, and then he might be holding an angle like this, or he might be jumping up to the window to try and help, or if he's got any utility left in terms of Molotovs, he might be throwing that towards the door as well, just to try and start making it difficult for them. So that's your B player. Your mid player, initially once the smoke's out, he's probably going to want to cross him, he's going to want to try and get some information about whether or not they're trying to come fast cat, and you can hold this sort of angle here pretty freely for the first 4 or 5 seconds of the round, because anybody who's coming around and trying to jump over, you should be able to get a free pick. What you need to be aware of is that terrorists will try and crouch underneath and pop up, which can be difficult because you have to flick it, or they'll come down suicide and then they'll peek you from the right hand side, which if you've got your crossover here is, again, it's a flick, which is going to be more difficult to do. So don't hold this angle for too long. What I quite like to do is, once I've made sure there's nobody rushing up catwalk, is jump back and hold this sort of an angle, because the players who've rushed towards B, they've Molotoved off, they'll be like, oh, Suker, I can't go B, I'll go lowers. They come lowers, and then you can get a pick here as they try and get back across doors to short A. Another thing to be aware of is if you are holding like this, you see a lot of people doing it. I've put a hostage there to demonstrate, but imagine that is a terrorist AWPer who's walking down catwalk trying to get a pick on you, and you're holding an angle like this, so you can literally just see him. That's probably just about enough to get a kill. So this guy here demonstrates where you are and what you can see. The terrorist who's walking down catwalk, as he comes down, he's holding these sort of angles, and he's coming down, and he can see you to get a kill here. So look where I am, and look where you can see. Basically, what I'm saying is never hold this angle, because the terrorist who's coming down catwalk will see you first, and you'll get killed before you even see him. So don't hold that angle. Also, if you've got a rifle, you probably don't want to be peeking out like this, again, because it's just going to be a really easy pick for the AWPer. You want to be playing a more passive angle, either from over here or from over here, and your killing area is really as they come through these doors here. It's not on the other side, because if you're peeking these angles, sort of up on top of box, up on shorts, up on catwalk, top mid, and a good AWPer will just get a free kill on you, and there's not a lot you can do. So you want to be playing a little bit more passively on mid to try and coax them in. Common strategy for terrorists is to throw utility like this, and what can you do against that if you're playing passively? Well, as soon as you hear it, and if you're playing up close, you'll probably hear him throw it. You will definitely hear the dink off the wall. Just throw a bit of utility like that, or a smoke on top of the door, and that will stop them coming through and discourage that rush quite quickly. So yeah, that's your mid player. One more thing to be aware of is if they do start to rush B and your mid player is rotating to help A, then your mid player is rotating to help B, then your A players need to be aware of that. Obviously it will be called, and they need to be coming down to cover the B players as they hold B. A Molotov, again, just on the wall there, will stop them from coming through, because it's going to be really common for them to try and split. Even without utility here, they'll just come up and they'll try and kill the guys as they're fighting B, and you don't want to let that happen. Anyway, that's 10 minutes, and I hope that helped. Good luck, have fun.